The first time Isolde Lockhart returned to Ashcroft Hall, she did not come as a daughter. She came as a ghost. The carriage wheels crunched over frozen gravel as she stared through the window at the tall gray stone mansion rising against the cold January sky. The house looked exactly the same as it had in her nightmares. 3 floors of sharp windows, iron gates shaped like twisted vines. The east wing rebuilt after the fire that was meant to kill her. 23 years ago, she had been carried out of that house in the arms of a midwife while flames swallowed her nursery. 23 years ago, she had been declared dead. Now she was back. A black wax seal had summoned her. The letter had arrived at her small cottage in Thornwick on a Tuesday morning while she was helping a young mother through labor. And the seal carried the Ashcroft crest. The words inside were simple and cold. Lord Ashcroft requests your presence, a matter of life and death. Come alone. She had almost burned the letter. For years, she had lived quietly as Isolde Lockhart, village midwife. She delivered babies. She mixed herbs. She listened to women who had no one else to listen to them. The people of Thornwick knew her as steady and kind. They did not know she had once been Isolde Ashcroft, only daughter of a powerful man who had wished for a son. They did not know her father had tried to erase her. The carriage stopped. A tall man waited at the front steps of Ashcroft Hall. He stood straight despite the bitter wind. His dark coat moved around him like a shadow. His hair was black and slightly curled at the collar. His face was sharp, proud, almost severe. A Sebastian Carlyle, the man the courts now called Duke of Ashcroft. The bastard son. Isolde stepped down from the carriage slowly. Her boots touched the frozen ground of the estate where she had taken her first steps as a child. The air smelled the same. Cold stone, smoke from the chimneys, memory. Sebastian's eyes locked on her. He studied her face carefully, like someone comparing reality to a portrait. "Miss Lockhart," he said. His voice was deep, controlled, but she heard the tension beneath it. "You wrote that it was life or death," she replied. "Whose life?" He did not answer at once. Instead, he stepped aside and gestured toward the open doors. "Yours," he said quietly, "and possibly mine." The entrance hall felt smaller than she remembered. Marble floors, tall ceilings, portraits of stern men with cold eyes lining the walls. Her father's portrait hung above the staircase, watching like a judge. She refused to look at it. Sebastian led her into the library. A fire burned low in the hearth. Papers were stacked across the desk. Ledgers, letters, sealed envelopes. "You've been investigating," she said. "For 6 months," he answered. "Since I inherited the title." "You mean, since he died?" "Yes." There was no sadness in his voice when he spoke of their father, only restraint. "You are not here to exchange pleasantries," Sebastian continued. "You are here because someone knows you are alive." Her heartbeat stumbled. "Who?" "Viscount Blackwood." The name felt like ice against her skin. She remembered that name. Even at 5 years old, she had heard it whispered during arguments behind closed doors. Blackwood had been her father's friend, his partner, his shadow. "He believes," Sebastian went on, "that if you are alive, the estate legally belongs to you, not to me." She crossed her arms tightly. "Then let him believe what he wants. I do not want this house." "It is not that simple." He moved toward the desk and picked up a letter. "He holds $40,000 in debt over Ashcroft Hall. Debt your father created. If he exposes you as the legitimate heir, he can demand repayment from you directly. And if I remain dead, he still demands repayment from me, but without scandal. Isolde felt the walls closing in. So why summon me? To warn me? To protect you, he said. She almost laughed. You do not even know me. His dark eyes softened slightly. I know enough. I know our father tried to eliminate you because you were inconvenient. I know a midwife named Margaret Fraser smuggled you out of this house the night of the fire. I know she raised you under a false name. Her breath caught. Maggie never told anyone, she whispered. She testified at the inquest. I found the records. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the crackle of the fire. You called me here because you need something, she said finally. Yes. He stepped closer. I need you to pretend. She frowned. Pretend what? That you are merely my housekeeper, a distant cousin. Anything except Isolde Ashcroft. Why? Because Blackwood is coming tonight. The room seemed to tilt. He believes he can force a marriage alliance. First, he wanted me to marry his daughter, and now he believes he can reclaim the original agreement. Original agreement? You were promised to his son as an infant. The words struck like a blow. I was a child. Exactly. Anger rose hot in her chest. They planned my life before I could speak. They planned your death before you could remember. Silence followed. Sebastian's jaw tightened. If Blackwood sees you and recognizes you, he will not wait 3 weeks. He will act immediately. You must deny who you are, and if he demands proof, he will not have it tonight. He will test you. He will look for fear. She lifted her chin. I do not fear him. Good, Sebastian said softly, because if they suspect you are lying, they will destroy you. A knock echoed through the hall. Sebastian's eyes sharpened. He is early. Isolde felt her pulse pound in her throat. You want me to stand beside you? She said slowly. And lie? Yes. And if he pushes? Then we survive the evening. Footsteps approached. Sebastian moved closer until they stood only inches apart. If he questions you directly, he murmured, smile. Look bored. Look indifferent. The library door opened before she could answer. Viscount Blackwood entered with quiet confidence. He was older than she remembered from childhood glimpses. Silver hair, pale eyes, a face shaped by control and cruelty. His gaze swept the room. Lord Ashcroft, he greeted smoothly. Sebastian bowed slightly. Viscount. Blackwood's eyes shifted to Isolde. And who is this? Sebastian did not hesitate. My housekeeper, Miss Lockhart. Blackwood studied her carefully. His gaze lingered on her eyes. Gray, he said softly. The Ashcroft shade. She forced a calm smile. Many families share gray eyes. Indeed. He stepped closer. How old are you, Miss Lockhart? 28. A flicker passed across his face. How curious, he said. The same age as the late Lady Isolde Ashcroft would have been. Sebastian's voice cooled. The lady died in a fire. Did she? Blackwood's gaze never left Isolde's face. For one terrifying second, she felt like a child again, trapped in smoke, unable to breathe. Sebastian shifted slightly closer to her. Blackwood leaned forward, his voice lowering. You know, he said. I was present the night of that fire. Her fingers curled into her skirts. I saw them carry out a body, small, burned beyond recognition. The room felt suffocating. And yet, he added softly, I have always wondered whether that body was truly hers. The challenge hung in the air. Sebastian's hand brushed lightly against Isolde's back. A silent signal. Smile. She tilted her head slightly. Sir, I believe you mistake me for someone far more interesting. Blackwood's eyes narrowed. You look very much like her. I assure you, she replied evenly. I have never been near a burning nursery. The tension stretched tight as wire. Blackwood studied her face, searching for something. Fear, guilt, recognition. Sebastian stepped forward. Viscount, he said sharply, state your business. Blackwood straightened slowly. My business, he replied, is debt. The estate owes me repayment. 3 weeks remain. And if repayment is not made? Sebastian asked calmly. I take the house. His gaze slid back to Isolde. And perhaps more. The meaning was clear. He wanted control. He always had. Blackwood turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. If you are who you claim, Miss Lockhart, you have nothing to fear. His pale eyes held hers. But if you are lying, he smiled thinly. Perhaps you should pray you are not discovered. The door closed behind him. Silence crashed down. Isolde's legs trembled. Sebastian caught her arm. You did well. He suspects, she whispered. Yes. He looked at me like I was a mistake that refused to die. Sebastian's expression darkened. You are not a mistake. She turned to him sharply. You barely know me. I know our father tried to erase you. That is enough. Emotion tightened her throat. What do we do now? She asked. Sebastian stepped closer. Now, he said quietly, we fight. Outside, wind rattled the tall windows of Ashcroft Hall. Inside, 2 people bound by blood and betrayal stood side by side, knowing the next move would decide everything. And neither of them yet understood how dangerous the next evening would truly become. The next morning, Ashcroft Hall did not feel like a home. It felt like a battlefield waiting for the first shot. Isolde stood at the tall window of the east wing and watched frost melt slowly from the gardens below. Servants moved quietly through the halls, whispering more than usual. Word of Blackwood's visit had already spread. In houses like this, secrets never stayed quiet for long. Sebastian entered the room without knocking. He sent a message, he said. She turned. Already? He wants dinner tomorrow night. A private one. Her stomach tightened. To test us. Yes. She moved away from the window. What exactly does he believe? Sebastian walked to the fireplace, staring into the flames. He believes you are Isolde Ashcroft. He just needs proof. And if he finds it? He forces your hand. Marriage, she said bitterly. Sebastian did not deny it. Blackwood had made his position clear. If she was truly the lost daughter, she was still bound to the old agreement. She would marry his son Edmund. In return, yet the crushing debt over the estate would disappear. It was blackmail disguised as tradition. I will not marry a stranger to satisfy a dead contract, she said firmly. Sebastian finally looked at her. I would never allow it. Allow? She repeated quietly. A shadow crossed his face. You are right. That is not my decision to make. The honesty in his voice softened her anger. Then what is your plan? We gather proof before he does. Proof of what truly happened the night of the fire. Isolde's heart beat harder. I thought you already searched everything. I searched this house, he said, but not yours. My cottage? Yes, Margaret Fraser was not foolish. If she saved you, she would have prepared for the day someone questioned your existence. Memory struck her like lightning. Maggie had always kept careful records. The births, deaths, payments, names, dates. If she wrote anything down, Isolde whispered, it will still be there. Then you must retrieve it before Blackwood does. She nodded slowly. I leave at once. No, Sebastian said sharply. You do not go alone. She raised an eyebrow. I have ridden those roads for years. And now Blackwood's men may be watching them. The weight of that truth settled heavily. "Then come with me," she said. He hesitated only a second. "Very well." They left before noon, riding hard through the winter wind. The moors stretched wide and gray around them. Isolde felt the strange pull of two worlds pressing against her. The grand estate behind her, the small stone cottage ahead. By the time Thornwick appeared in the distance, clouds had gathered low and heavy, and her cottage stood quiet at the edge of the village. Smoke no longer rose from its chimney. It had been empty since she answered Sebastian's letter. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The scent of lavender and dried herbs still lingered in the air. Sebastian paused just inside the doorway, looking around carefully. "This is where you built your life," he said softly. "Yes." No portraits, no marble floors, just wooden shelves lined with jars. A simple table, a bed near the back wall. She knelt beside it and pulled out the old wooden chest Maggie had guarded with her life. The lock clicked open. Inside were journals bound in worn leather. Her hands trembled as she opened the first one. Neat handwriting filled the pages. Dates, names, notes about difficult births and grateful mothers. Then she found it. January 15th. Isolde Catherine Ashcroft. Born healthy. Gray eyes. Her breath caught. Sebastian crouched beside her. "There," he said quietly. But there was more. She flipped further. February 3rd. Lord Ashcroft offered payment to declare child stillborn. Refused. February 4th. Viscount Blackwood visited. Increased payment. Spoke of eliminating complication. Isolde's fingers tightened on the page. "He ordered it," she whispered. "Yes." "And Maggie refused. She risked everything for you." They kept reading. February 5th. Fire set deliberately. Nursery door locked from outside. Extracted child through window. Lady Catherine restrained. Lord shouted to let the child burn. The room felt too small to breathe. Sebastian's jaw clenched so hard, she feared his teeth would crack. "This is attempted murder," he said. And conspiracy." She looked at him. "We have proof." "Not yet." He pointed lower on the page. "I have hidden copies with a solicitor in Edinburgh." Isolde blinked. She anticipated this. She was preparing for war. For the first time since returning to Ashcroft Hall, Isolde felt something stronger than fear. Hope. A sudden sound outside shattered the moment. Hooves. Sebastian rose instantly. "Inside," he whispered. Through the window they saw 3 riders approaching fast. Blackwood's men. "They followed us," she breathed. Sebastian grabbed the journals and shoved them back into the chest. "No, they followed you." The front door burst open. Heavy boots thundered across the floor. Isolde's pulse roared in her ears. Sebastian pulled her toward the back room. "Stay behind me." The men searched violently. Furniture overturned. Glass shattered. One of them kicked open the bedroom door. "Nothing here," he called. Another voice from outside shouted, "Tracks head north. She must have kept riding." The men cursed and retreated. Silence returned. Isolde's hands shook. "They will not stop," she said. "No," Sebastian agreed, "which means we move faster." They rode back to Ashcroft Hall in darkness. This time, the fear was different. It was no longer about survival. It was about exposure. The next evening, Blackwood arrived for dinner. The table was set with cold perfection. Crystal glasses, silver polished to mirror shine. Isolde wore a deep blue gown Sebastian insisted upon. It felt like armor against her skin. Blackwood entered with his son Edmund at his side. Edmund was younger than she expected, pale, nervous, and his eyes avoided hers. Dinner began stiffly. Blackwood spoke lightly of politics and trade, of investments and London gossip. Then he placed his fork down. "Miss Lockhart," he said smoothly, "tell me about your childhood." Sebastian's posture tightened. "I grew up in Thornwick," she answered calmly. "With your parents?" "With my aunt." "And your mother?" "She died." "How?" "In childbirth." Blackwood leaned back, studying her. "Strange," he said quietly. "The resemblance to Lady Ashcroft is striking." Edmund finally looked at her. "You do look like her portrait," he murmured. Blackwood shot him a warning glance. Sebastian cleared his throat. "Viscount, if you intend to interrogate my staff, perhaps you should apply for a magistrate's authority." Blackwood smiled thinly. "I am merely curious." His eyes locked onto Isolde's again. "And curiosity," he said softly, "can be dangerous." After dinner, guests drifted toward the drawing room. Music began. Conversation rose. Blackwood cornered Isolde near the balcony doors. "You are playing a dangerous game," he murmured. "I do not know what you mean." "Oh, I think you do." He leaned closer. "If you are Isolde Ashcroft, you belong to my family by contract. I belong to no one." His lips curved. "We shall see." Across the room, Sebastian noticed the closeness. He crossed quickly, but Blackwood's voice lowered to a whisper only she could hear. "Kiss him." She froze. "Excuse me?" "Kiss the Duke," he said softly, "or everyone will know you are lying." Her breath hitched. "If you are truly only his housekeeper, why would he stand so close? Why would he defend you so fiercely? Kiss him, Miss Lockhart. Prove you are nothing more." Sebastian stopped inches away. "Is everything well?" Blackwood stepped back slightly, watching. Isolde's mind raced. If she refused, suspicion would explode in front of everyone. If she obeyed, she stepped into something neither she nor Sebastian had prepared for. Blackwood's pale eyes glittered. "Well?" he murmured. Sebastian's confusion deepened. "Isolde?" She saw the trap clearly. Then she made her choice. She reached up, grabbed Sebastian's coat, and pulled him down. And her lips met his. The room seemed to stop breathing. It was meant to be brief, strategic. But the second their mouths touched, something unexpected happened. Heat. Shock. Recognition. Sebastian stiffened. Then his hand instinctively moved to her waist. The kiss deepened. Not performance. Not strategy. Something real. Gasps rippled through the room. Blackwood's smile faltered. Isolde pulled back slowly. Sebastian's dark eyes were no longer confused. They were blazing. Blackwood stared at them, calculating. "Well," he said after a tense moment. "How very passionate for employer and servant." Sebastian's arm remained around her. "She is no servant," he said clearly. The room fell silent again. Blackwood's face hardened. "Careful," he warned softly. Sebastian did not release her. "I am done being careful." And in that moment, the war changed. Because what had begun as a lie had just become something far more dangerous. The kiss should have ended the performance. Instead, it changed everything. The ballroom remained frozen for several long seconds. Guests stared. Whispers began like wind moving through dry grass. Sebastian did not step away from Isolde. His hand stayed firm at her waist. "She is no servant," he repeated. his voice steady and clear. "She is Isolde Ashcroft, and she is the rightful heir to this estate." Gasps echoed across the room. Blackwood's pale face turned sharp with fury. "You dare," he hissed. "I do," Sebastian replied. Isolde felt fear surge through her, but it did not control her. For 28 years, she had lived in hiding. Tonight, she would not hide. She stepped forward beside Sebastian. "My name is Isolde Catherine Ashcroft," she said, her voice strong enough to carry. "I was born in this house. I was nearly killed in this house, and I survived." The crowd began murmuring louder. Blackwood laughed coldly. "An impressive story, but stories require proof." Sebastian nodded toward the double doors. "Bring them in." The doors opened. Servants carried wooden boxes into the ballroom. Behind them entered the local magistrate, the journalist from the London Times, and several respected landowners from the county. Blackwood's smile faded. "What is this circus?" he demanded. "It is the truth," Isolde said. Sebastian opened the first box and removed the leather journal. "This was written by Margaret Fraser and the midwife who delivered my sister and saved her life." He began reading aloud. "February 3rd, Lord Ashcroft offered payment to declare child stillborn. Refused. February 4th, Viscount Blackwood visited. Increased payment. Spoke of eliminating complication." A sharp silence filled the room. Blackwood's jaw tightened. "Forgery," he snapped. "Then perhaps this will interest you," Caroline's voice rang out. She stepped forward from the crowd. In her hand were folded letters. "Correspondence between my father and Lord Ashcroft," she announced, "discussing the removal of the legitimate heir." She handed the letters to the magistrate. The journalist leaned closer, writing quickly. Blackwood's composure began to crack. "You ungrateful girl," he muttered toward Caroline. She lifted her chin. "You tried to sell me like livestock." The magistrate spoke firmly. "Viscount Blackwood, these documents strongly suggest conspiracy to commit murder and financial fraud." Blackwood's eyes flashed with panic. "You have no authority," he barked. "I do now," the magistrate replied calmly. "Constables!" 2 officers stepped forward. The crowd shifted back, creating space. Blackwood looked around wildly. "Think carefully," he warned the room. "If you destroy me, you destroy half the financial structure of this county. Perhaps it is time it was rebuilt," Sebastian said coldly. Blackwood's gaze returned to Isolde. "You should have died," he spat. "You were meant to disappear." She walked closer to him, fearless now. "I was 5 years old," she said quietly. "And you set my nursery on fire." His face twisted. "It was business. It was murder." The words struck like thunder. For a moment, Blackwood seemed smaller, no longer powerful, no longer untouchable, just an aging man, cornered by truth. "You cannot prove I lit the fire," he sneered. Sebastian stepped forward. "But you paid for it." Caroline held up another document. "Ledger entries from my father's private safe. Payments labeled settlement of inconvenience. The dates match the fire exactly." The magistrate nodded grimly. "That will be sufficient to begin arrest proceedings." Blackwood suddenly lunged forward, rage breaking through reason. "You ruined everything!" he shouted. Sebastian intercepted him before he could reach Isolde. The 2 men struggled briefly before constables restrained Blackwood's arms. "You are finished," Sebastian said quietly. Blackwood stared at Isolde with burning hatred. "This estate will never accept you," he snarled. "You are a scandal." Isolde met his gaze calmly. "I am a survivor." The constables dragged him toward the doors as he continued shouting threats. The ballroom slowly exhaled. Guests began speaking at once, shocked, excited, some angry, some impressed. The journalist approached immediately. "Miss Ashcroft," he said breathlessly. "Do you wish to make a statement?" She glanced at Sebastian. He nodded. "Yes," she said firmly. She stepped toward the center of the room. "For 28 years, I lived quietly under another name. I was told I was dead. I was told my life had no value because I was not a son." Her voice did not shake. "But I stand here alive. And I will not allow this estate to be built on lies and fear." Silence returned as people listened. "This house will not continue as a monument to cruelty," she continued. "It will become something better." Sebastian looked at her with something deeper than admiration. "What will it become?" someone called from the crowd. She turned slightly toward Sebastian. "A school," she said, "for boys and girls, and a clinic for women who have nowhere else to go." Murmurs of approval spread. Blackwood was gone. The air felt lighter. Caroline joined them, her eyes shining with relief. "It is over," she whispered. "Not yet," Sebastian said gently. "But it has begun." The weeks that followed were filled with hearings and testimonies. Blackwood's wealth could not silence the evidence. The journals, the letters, the ledger records, the public confession in his fury. He was stripped of influence and eventually imprisoned for conspiracy and fraud. Isolde felt no joy when the sentence was announced. Only release. Spring arrived slowly. Ashcroft Hall changed with it. The east wing was cleared and rebuilt as classrooms. Desks replaced broken furniture. Books filled shelves where once dust had gathered. Isolde reopened her medical practice within the estate grounds. Women from nearby villages came seeking help and found compassion instead of judgment. Caroline remained, managing finances and correspondence with steady skill, and Sebastian stayed. One evening, and as the last light of sunset painted the gardens gold, Isolde found him in the music room. He was playing softly. Not Chopin. Something new. She stepped inside quietly. "That piece again," she said. He smiled slightly without looking up. "It still needs work. It sounds like hope." He stopped playing. "Isolde," he said gently, "about that night." She felt warmth rise in her cheeks. "The kiss?" "Yes. It was necessary. It was not entirely pretend," he admitted quietly. She stepped closer. "No," she agreed. Silence settled between them. "You could leave," she said softly. "You are free now. The title could remain mine alone." "I do not want to leave," he answered immediately. "Why?" He stood, closing the distance between them. "Because this house feels different with you in it." "Well, because you turned ashes into something living." Her heart beat harder. "And because," he added, "I no longer wish to stand beside you as your defender." She raised her brow slightly. "Then how?" He took her hand gently. "As your equal." The word felt powerful. Not obligation. Not contract. Choice. "You would share this life?" she asked. "I already am." She looked around the room. The piano. The sunlight. The home that once tried to destroy her. "I do not want a grand title," she said quietly. "I want partnership. Then that is what we build." For the first time, the future did not feel like something planned by other men. It felt like something they were writing themselves. She stepped closer. This time, when she kissed him, there were no watching eyes, no manipulation, no fear, only certainty. Outside, roses began to bloom along the stone walls. Ashcroft Hall was no longer a grave. It was a beginning.